Hello, everyone. Welcome to Woodside SDA Youth, where we are doing 365 Days with Jesus or the Bible reading plan. And today we're supposed to read Numbers chapter 3 and chapter 4. And as many of you know, yesterday we started the book of Numbers, and this is the fourth book of the Bible so far. And we are in the second month, and it's incredible to see how much we have read when we stay consistent every single day. Like when we started reading Genesis, I thought to myself, we're never gonna finish Genesis, right? And when we started Exodus, I thought we were never gonna finish Exodus, and even Leviticus, I thought we were never gonna finish that. But right now, we are in Numbers. Days are going by. Every day we're reading, and it's just a blessing every single day to read the Word of God. So today, what did we read? So yesterday we saw that the tribes and the people were numbered, or there was a census taking place in the people of Israel where they were at, and the purpose of this census was to see how many people they have available for war, how many of them can be warriors, fighters, so that they can create a great army. And in chapter 3, we see another census, but this is the census of the Levites. Now, in yesterday's reading, we saw that the Levites weren't, there was no census made on the Levites, right? And now we see a census on the Levites, but this is different because yesterday was a census for to see who was eligible for war. And as we know, the sons of Levi, the Levites, in other words, they were not allowed to go to war, but they were giving a special work in the tabernacle, right? They were meant to work there. It was a special calling by God. So in chapter 3, we see that there was a census and they name all the people there. They also, a very interesting part of chapter 3 is that the Levites were dedicated instead of all the firstborns of Israel. And this had to do with the fact that a lot of people, like everybody else is except the Levites, worship the golden calf, right? And so instead of offering the firstborns to Christ or to God, the Levites, every firstborn of the Levites were now to be to replace, the firstborns of all the people to make redemption for them, right? And this thing is still a little puzzles me, the whole process of this and how everything went down in chapter 3. So that's definitely something I'm gonna be keep reading. And I encourage you guys, if this is something that this chapter is something that confuses you, message us, or leave a comment, or if you have an explanation for this, please leave it down below or message inboxes so that we can all learn together. So in chapter 4, we see that many of the sons of Levi, they were giving duties, right? When the Israelites, it was time to make a journey, right? When it was time to move, we they needed people to tear, not tear down, but like to put down the uh tabernacle so that they can take it to the new place that they will be traveling, right? So this chapter tells us how they did it and specific instructions for that, right? So it was kind of interesting. I learned so many things. I actually didn't know that there was uh instructions on how to take down the tabernacle, how to take down all the tents, to take down all the stuff, all the holy things, and move it. But this chapter, in chapter 4, it tells us how they're supposed to do it. God gives them specific instructions, and I thought that was very interesting. And I also didn't know about the census for the Levites and how the Levites were dedicated instead of the firstborn. So that's one of the things I learned. And another thing that we do in these short videos is ask questions. So what questions do I have? I kind of already mentioned it. Um, how was the process of the Levites, being chosen instead of the firstborn firstborn of every Israel family? Like, what was the purpose? I get it that the other people or the tribes worshiped the golden calf, but now the Levites were to make atonement for them. They were supposed to be replacing them and stuff, and there were way more firstborns in the rest of the people than there were Levites. So then they had to pay a certain amount of shekels in order to be redeemed or represented, something like that. It's still very confusing to me. These are some of the questions that I have also. So what can I apply to my life? This is the most important question, guys. We're reaching the books that a lot of people don't want to read. We're reaching the chapters that a lot of people have a lot of questions about. A lot of people skip over. A lot of us just want to read the Psalms, and I'm one of those people, right? Because it's easy to understand to some degree, right? Some of us want to read the Gospels because it's a little bit more friendly. we kind of have the tendency to skip over these type of chapters because of the names, the numbers, and all these things. But God has a message for us in every single chapter, and I am a firm believer of that. So, what did I learn? What did I learn that I can apply to my life? Well, I learned a few things, but some of the things I want to share is that in chapter 4, when God gives the sons of Levi certain instructions on how to take down the tent of the tabernacle, I'm reading all the details and all the step by step processes that God gives them. It kind of reminds me the of present day deacons, right? When they stay after church service to take down, all the stuff, all the sound system, remove all the chairs, put everything back in place, or even before church starts, they come very early, they clean it up, they make it look very nice. And this is kind of like what we see in chapter 4 of Numbers. Now, of course, in chapter 4 it also says if someone if they mess up or they do something was that they were gonna die and stuff like that. And I know that today, if you mess up moving a chair in church, you're not gonna die. But it shows here how much God puts importance to the people who do this, right? To the people who help move things, who help tear down or not tear down. I keep saying that word, or people to help put down and store the things of the tabernacle so that they can keep on with the journey, right? So the deacons sometimes they think that their mission or their duties are not very important, but I think God looks at you. God looks at the effort that you put in church. God looks at the fact that you come early in the morning to set up all the chairs, to set up the sound system. God looks at you. After the whole church service is done and everybody's going home, everybody's going to get their Sabbath nap, and you're staying there working, making the church look acceptable, cleaning up the church if any mess happened, making sure that everything is very organized. God is looking at those things. If you ever feel like you're not important just because you're not on stage, just because you're not giving the sermon, just because you're not leading the Sabbath school lesson, just because you're not singing, right? God looks at what you're doing. That duty or that mission that you have of putting things away, of making things, work properly, God looks at that. He values that. And I think in this chapter, we see how much the physical work is valued by God, and the correct physical work is valued by God. And God has called us. He gave us all different duties in church. Some people are He chose to sing. Some people He chose to preach. Some people He chose to teach. Every role in the church. And some people He gave them this special message, this special duty, to put things away and to make everything look good for the children of God to congregate in, that building setting, in that room, in that church, and like if you ever feel like your work is underappreciated, just know that God looks at that and He appreciates it a lot. He loves you. He gave you that position. So I know I used to be a deacon. I used to be coming to church super early. I was like almost the first one there, with my dad, with my brother, with my mom, and we had to set up everything, right? And for everybody to just come in, and sometimes, they take it for granted. They just leave everything messed up again, right? And when everybody leaves, I have to go and fix it up again. And I thought to myself, man, this sucks, man. I don't want to do this. Like, you know, no one says thank you, you know, but like God is telling you all those efforts that you're doing, even though it might be very tedious sometimes, even though it might be a little bit upsetting sometimes, God looks at everything you're doing. He's very, very thankful that you're doing that for Him. So, everybody, this is the message that I have for you. There's so many messages that I want to share. And if you have something that, impacted your life in the reading, please give us a message so that we can all share these wonderful things that God has for us that we find in His holy word. So, like I always remind you in some of the videos, if you're falling behind, pick a date, especially Sabbath. I've fallen behind a little bit in some of the readings before, especially in Leviticus, but I have a plan that when Saturday comes, instead of taking my Sabbath nap, I'm gonna try to catch up with my reading. So if you're a little falling behind, don't feel discouraged. Try to do the reading of today and then make a plan to catch up. When the Sabbath comes, there's going to be a period of time where you're not doing a lot. There's going to be a period of time when you're on Facebook, you're on social media and all these things, right? Because sometimes you just got to relax a little bit, right? So use that time in the Sabbath, or use those times throughout the week, to catch up on the reading. Guys, it's such a blessing. I've been blessed. A lot of you have been blessed. A lot of the people I know that are in this journey with us have been blessed. And guys, I'm just telling you guys, it's just a wonderful thing. We're doing this together. We're doing this as a team. We're doing this as a family. We're doing this as a church. So please, guys, join us. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.